Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I was going to give my thoughts and reactions to the Arsenal game against Brighton, but I think I want to look a bit broader and talk about the title race as a whole. And I don't think this is going to be a very entertaining video for me to make as an Arsenal supporter, because I'm feeling growingly pessimistic about our title chances with each coming week. Um, the game against Brighton was a fairly familiar one for Arsenal this season, of being unable to really do anything offensively. I don't even think we managed to get 1 xg. So we actually overperformed our expected goals, because we didn't even manage to have an expected goals of 1. And even after the Brighton goal, which was a bit unfortunate to Saliba. I mean, I think there is some degree of precedent in such a situation as that, even though it's not common that clashing of heads gets some kind of thing like that. But I think that is something that would get called in most Premier League matches, even though I don't know if there's much Saliba could have done about it. I don't really blame him for it, but it still is something that probably gets called. So that was unfortunate, and to have gotten the penalty when we had the lead was frustrating. But even so, we should have done more to create chances. And for a team pushing for the title, or at least a team that should be pushing for the title, it's disappointing to keep having games like this. And there's been a lot of talk about getting a proven, 20 goal a season center forward, someone that's just going to score goals all the time. Uh, and that's been cited frequently as something that Arsenal needs to get to really push on to win the title. I am less sure about that. I think getting a proven goal scorer doesn't necessarily help the team, especially when it doesn't fit the system. I think that Arteta's created a kind of system where he wants a striker that's not just going to score goals. And the interesting comparison I can make is one with Erling Haaland, who is undoubtedly an incredible goal scorer and has helped out Manchester City a lot, scored a ton of goals for them. However, when you look at their goals per game average each season, in the 2 seasons previous to getting Haaland, they were averaging over 2.6 goals a game. And then when they got Haaland in the 2022-23 season, that average took a hit to below 2.5 goals a game, which perhaps isn't a massive difference, but it is interesting that they've actually scored less goals as a team with Haaland than goals without. And perhaps that is because Haaland doesn't quite fit the system Guardiola has, because Arteta is fairly similar to Guardiola in that he's created a system without really a need for just out and out goal scorers, but rather a forward who needs to do a bit more and create some as well, even if that means they don't get as many goals in a season. There might be a bunch of other factors involved in that. It's not to say that getting Haaland made Manchester City worse as a team, and I think that's still quite a like, it's a bit weird for me to say this because Haaland has undoubtedly been a great player for Manchester City. But again, there is some statistical evidence to suggest that simply getting a great goal scorer who's really good just at getting goals doesn't guarantee an improvement in results or even getting goals more as a team. And that's why I'm not sure if I actually would want to see Arsenal go for someone like Gyökeres or Osimhen in January. I think if anyone, I'd want to see us get Isak. I think Arteta has I remembered seeing speculation in previous transfer windows that Arteta maybe has tried to get Isak before, and he seems more like an Arteta-esque forward than anyone else on the list. Um, the other one I could think of is maybe Watkins, but I feel like he's maybe nearing the end of his career now. He's actually a lot older than I realized. Not to say he's like, close to retirement or anything, but he's now in the latter half of his career. What worries me about Arsenal in the title race is that I think that the issues with goal scoring are a lot more fundamental. We aren't creating enough. We often get over at least over 1 XG per game, not often over 2, which really we should be getting 2 to 3 goals a game if we want to win a title. And we're struggling to create. And part of that has been that we haven't consistently had some of our best creative players, because our two most creative players are Saka and Odegaard, and we haven't actually gotten to have both of them on the field for too much of the season. But even in games where we have had them, I feel like it's been a bit of a struggle to create. And that's a frustrating thing, and I'm not really sure what to make of that, because teams are now setting up fairly consistently against Arsenal in a sort of low/mid block that they've really struggled to break down and create for. And if that continues, then we really shouldn't expect to win a title unless we can figure that out. Because if there's a consistent way to stop us from scoring, teams are going to keep exploiting it. I don't know. I had worries last year around this time, and then suddenly Arsenal turned into a super team for the last few months of the season, and just, I believe, won 16 of their last 18 games. So maybe there still could be a turnaround, but right now Arsenal doesn't look like a team that is going to win a title, because they're fairly frequently having games like the one against Brighton, where they don't seem to be able to do anything in attack. And we have been dropping points about every few games. And Liverpool now a few times have also had draws, and we haven't really capitalized on that. Because they had the draw with Man United, they had the draw with Fulham, and yet in that same match week Arsenal also tied. And so Liverpool right now are set to basically walk their way to a title because no one's putting pressure on them. Even with the draw against Man United, they're still 9 points ahead of us, assuming they win their game in hand, which I feel like they will. And the longer it gets into a season, the closer you get to the end, the harder it gets to win, the more mental toll games can have on players challenging for a title. And perhaps that is somewhere where Arsenal, who have competed in a title race the last 2 seasons, might have an edge. But right now we're not in a position to capitalize on any Liverpool mistakes because we can't consistently put in a run of wins ourselves. So, I don't know, I'm just a bit frustrated with how the season's going. I probably can't complain too much. We're still winning more games than we lose or draw in, and are fairly set for a top 4 finish. I really want to see us win the league, and I don't feel like it's looking like that's going to happen this season. And I don't know how to improve, because right now we're not even in a position where getting a new out-and-out striker could be beneficial, because we're not creating enough anyways. And that's a big issue that's going to, we're going to keep dropping points if that doesn't improve, and I don't really see much of a sign of improvement, especially with Saka out for another 2 months, which is really, really frustrating. I don't know. I just feel a bit sad about the way the season's going now. But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe things can change, but right now I think Liverpool, in my mind, are 90% there to win the title right now. And yeah, I'm just kind of sad about that.